Good evening, Shaggy Soko with 2Old4Forza. Um, it's uh, it's it's fun switching back to old equipment and not remembering what you have to do to get it to work. So hopefully you can hear me now. Hopefully the audio is still synced. I'm not gonna mess with it. If it's off, it's off. Deal with it. Um, but this is the next round of track guides for this season in the Ford Falcon XB, and for these next couple of races, it's going to be at Spa, which is where we're at tonight. And then I'll probably do the track guide for Hockenheim. I think it's the Hockenheim National. Probably do that late this weekend. I've got a lot of things going on Saturday, Sunday. So want to get Spa put out, worked out and go from there. So again, I'm on old headset because stupid me. After last night's races, I didn't plug in my other headset, and so when I was putting that on, it started giving me a little beep that it was out of power. This one's been sitting for a few weeks, so hopefully it still has a little bit of power. So this could be a complete, show. But we'll make do with what we got, and hopefully get this banged out here. So Spa. Again, I'm gonna run a couple of hot laps, kind of talk about it there. Then I'll do a slow kind of quote unquote track walk, kind of point out the things that I look for, what I think the car's, how the car's feeling, what it's doing in the corners, what to expect, and then I'm going to do a mock race against the AI just to one, I need to run laps, and also it gives me some cars to try and pass, maybe look for passing situations, get to watch my questionable racecraft, and there we go. So, and my other new addition here is I was finding that the stitching on the inside of the Logitech wheel here would bite into the corners of my thumbs if I was, if I'm doing, especially when I'm doing all the track guides. So I just went on Amazon, got a nice, relatively inexpensive pair of gloves, and I can tell because I can smell, the chemicals. I guess they used in the dyeing process haven't quite worn off yet. So I may be getting a contact high as I'm recording this. So all right, but anyhow, enough talk, less talk, more driving. Let's go ahead and do the test drive. And yes, I know the names of some of the corners at Spa. I don't know everything. I don't know all the names. Usually I tend to, if the corners have names, I tend to, hello, why are you telling me? Oh, hang on. Sorry, guys. I hit the wrong button here. I want to finish test drive because I don't need the stupid mods on. Racing mods. I hit the wrong button trying to start the test drive, and I'll just blame the gloves. Okay, now we do test drive. Okay, where was I? Oh yes, names of corners. If the corners have specific names, I tend to learn the names of the corners I've crashed at. So, like, I don't know the name of this corner because I haven't really ever crashed here on my own. I've gotten hit here in multiplayer races, but regardless, first turn, first gear, start racing down the hill. Get all the way up to fourth gear. I like taking a wider entry. Cross the curb, check brake right at the end of the curbing. Try to get it to the right side. Of course, cold tires. Still in fourth gear. We're talking about speed, as far as gauging how well or the exit of Redallion is. Heading down the Kemmel Straight. Still in fourth. We're going to top out probably about 129 by the time I get to the braking, which will be right where the curbing starts on the left side. Down to second. I'm going to abuse this curb a little bit if I can. I'm going to abuse this curb a lot. Try and keep it to the left side. Roll back into the power. Ease out, turn in here. Roll back in as I get to the apex. Full throttle. Third gear, down the hill. Keep it in third. Brake right at the start of the curbing. Down to second gear. Look for the green patches. 1, 2. Keep to the inside. When you get to the third one, that's when you can start rolling back into the throttle. Check brake here, right where the line meets the edge of the track. Roll back in at apex. Still second gear, up to third. Heading down to Puhan. Gonna brake at the camera. Turn in with the. Keep it in third. Turn in. Roll back. Should be able to get back into full throttle at the apex, and then just very gentle steering. Full throttle, third gear. Let it go all the way to the right side. Start bringing it to the left. You can leave it in third. You can upshift to fourth, but this is definitely down to second gear. second gear here, and again, I tend to take later apexes. You know, this is the more important corner. It's a little bit longer of a straight. Wind it out in second, bang the rev limiter, quick brake, turn in. Okay, now we're heading to the last part of the lap. Right-hander at Stevlo, if you get it right, shift just before the curbing on the right side, you should be able to take this flat out if you get the turn in right. Heading down the back straight here towards Blanchemont. This is going to be the fun corner. Fourth gear. You will not be able to take it flat. You just lift at the white sign there on the inside. When the car turns in, roll back into the throttle. You're going to kind of float. It's going to be kind of like Catalunya with the chicane. You're going to have to kind of float it in there. But you want to be gentle. Down to first gear for the final couple of corners. And onto the front straight, just start letting the car come back across the left to set up for turn one. I want to do one more lap, and I'll try and talk a little bit less, and then we'll do the track walk here. So one more flyer. Better. 110. I think there's still some improvement I can make there. I did run laps, a number of laps on controller last night, just to kind of get a feel, for what I was going to talk about here. But this is actually the first laps really I'm doing on the wheel. I did about 3 or 4 before I started the live stream. And yep, it is a little bit different than a controller. Pushing a little bit there. All right, let me see if I can do this flat. That's about as well as I think I can do that. Oh, almost wide. And that was early. That was a way early turn in. And that's a lap of Spa. All right, so let's do the track walk and see what we got. Okay, so coming down to the first turn, again, and kind of like what I always do is, I think most of us we're all using the braking line, and it's a great, reference point. But again, because it changes color and like that based off your speed, it can lie to you a little bit. And there are occasions where it's going to go red, and when you can still brake a little bit later than it tells you to. But for turn one, I'm using, if you look on the, I never know if I should be pointing opposite so it looks like to you that I'm pointing up in the direction that I'm looking, but then it gets confusing. But on the right side, if you look at the Forza banners on the right side there, it's that red one that's right, well, it's the only red one that we can see in the camera, but it's the last red one before that first turn. That's kind of my reference as far as, if I can't see the braking line because maybe I'm looking at somebody or trying to, maybe trying to set up a pass, I'm going to be looking for that banner as my braking point. Just as I get to it, So I'll be braking about here for turn one. You'll be in third gear. Turn one, once you get the braking done, you release. Um, you could do it in second. Again, comes back to the whole trade-off. Second gear is way lower in the RPM range, but you get a little bit more torque. I Comfort wise, turn in wise, I think first is better through here. Again, it's having it in the lower gear, higher in the RPM range. The car's got a little bit more point to it. On turn in, it's a little bit more. It feels a little bit more agile. So I'm going to be in first gear here. I'm going to try and eat as much of this curb as I can, as the game's going to let me, and I will flirt with time penalties. Bringing the car back out. First gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, all the way down the hill here towards I know it's Redalian, but I can't. Oh, Rouge, there it is. Wow, it's late. So coming down here for Eau Rouge up into Redalian, you're going to be in fourth gear. Now, for this sequence, when I was first running laps, let's do the first part because this is all the same regardless. I'm going to turn in. What I'm going to try and do is, that was late turn in. I'm going to try and clip the inside of the curbing here a little bit. And right as I get to the end of this curbing, the end of that yellow curbing really lines up with where the braking line goes red in this car. So if you can't see the braking line, just know I'm going to brake right, and by I say brake there, just know that's the latest I think you're really going to be able to brake and make this corner, these next couple of corners. Certainly if you're in traffic or you're behind somebody, coming down here, you may not want to brake at that exact point because you may run into the guy in front of you. So it is a quick check brake. You just need to scrub a little bit of speed and get a little weight in the front of the car. Now, when I was first running laps here and trying to get up to speed, I was dropping it down to third, and it'll wind up in the rev range. It'll give you a little more control on the turn in. It's going to cost you a little bit at the top of the hill once you get onto the Kemmel Straight, but it's not too heinous. You still hit about 129 by the end of the straight, and it's just if you can. So I would say maybe for your first couple of laps, do this in third, get comfortable with it, and then try doing it in fourth. Because if you get it right and you're in fourth and you can maintain that right momentum, you get about. And I'll show you the point that I've been kind of gauging. Um, Dropping to third. If I do it right, dropping to third, going up over Redalian onto the Kemmel Straight, there's a point where I'll check my speed and it's like 109. And doing it in fourth because the car's a little bit freer and I can carry a little bit more momentum. Because it is lower in the rev range, I got more revs to play with. On a controller, I've gotten to that same point and been like 111, 112. So again, if you can do that and have that much speed difference, heading onto that straight, because you'll be in third, upshifting to fourth, that might pay off, even though you'll get to the same terminal speed or close to the same terminal speed. If you can do it in fourth and carry that speed through, you'll get there quicker, and you can probably set up a nice side by side, be right next to the guy, you're next to your opponent, getting into the braking zone. So let's just talk about how then I approach this. So it is a quick break, and just drop it a second so I'm not bogging it entirely. I'm going to be off the gas. I'm going to try and get the car to the inside of the curve. Now, one of the things I want to point out here, and this was something I learned doing these track guides a while ago. If you notice the kind of how Eau Rouge up to Redalian curves, if you look at the curbing on the right side, you can kind of see it's kind of straight, and then it kind of takes a sharper bend. We're kind of so it's not as symmetrical. It's not a smooth, even curve up here. So it kind of like curves for a little bit, it'll straighten out, curves a little bit, straightens out. So this part here, as I crest up over the hill, where that bend is, just past it, I want to try and have the car, and it's somewhere in here. If you get it parallel, and maybe actually this is where things look different at speed. Let me back up a little bit. Okay, yeah. So all right, so I was a little ahead of myself. So let me just park it here. So ideally, if you're parallel with this curbing right before it does that sharper curve, you're still going to be slightly turning at this point. you're pretty well lined up, and you're pretty well lined up because it is a blind crest over Redallion up under the Kemmel Strait. You're pretty well lined up where you're not going to have to do a lot of left-right steering to get through the little left-hand kink here on the exit. So if I stay parallel here, maybe still bring it a little bit to the right as I crest the hill, and the wheels fairly straight with this line, I may just barely kiss the curbing on the left side and then let the car come all the way out to the right side on exit. So just when you're practicing Eau Rouge Redallion, just pay attention to the shape of the inside curbing going up over the hill. You'll notice that there's a section of it that just seems to straighten out a little bit before it curves again. Try and set your car up where you're fairly almost parallel with that part of the curbing. And if you've got the line right, it should just pretty much shoot you straight up over the hill. And it's all about, because for me, the goal is minimizing the steering, minimizing how much steering you need to put into the car to get it through any corners, because I want to minimize the weight shift. Because the back end of the car, I've talked about it before, the back end of the car likes to step out and move around on you. So if you can minimize how much drama you're putting into the rear of the car, it'll minimize the drama you have to deal with from the rear of the car. So getting onto the Kemmel Strait, you'll be in third gear. Now, if you drop it to third to get up over the hill up to here, right about where this curbing ends on the right side, maybe if you do it right, I've been getting up to about 109 miles an hour. In doing it in the higher gear and trying to keep it in fourth and really maintaining the momentum and taking advantage of the torque, the higher torque at the lower revs, I've gotten 111, 112. So I think for my own practice, first couple of laps, I might be dropping it to third to get comfortable, but then really trying to get it to fourth, trying to maintain the momentum, getting up onto the straight. Because again, this is, I think, one of the longest straights we're going to be on in the game, or not the game, or at least in this season. So we've got like Road America coming up as well. But again, when the right-handed kink, let the car come out to the left side. You'll be in fourth gear. Again, hopefully decent draft. You can set up a pass here. Ideally, you don't want to try and lunge at the last minute or try to outbrake somebody. It's much easier if you can get the run and get at least partially alongside. It'll make getting to the brakes and passing somebody in the next corner here much easier. Braking for the next series of corners is going to be just as you start to get to the curbing here on the left side. You'll notice the curbing is a good static reference point. If you brake right where it starts, it's probably a little bit earlier than you need to, but that's fine. You might need to do that if you're in traffic or just you need to. But you'll be able to brake a little bit past the start of the yellow curbing. You could do this in third. I like doing it in second. Again, it's pretty sharp left-right combo. So I'd rather have the car a little bit more on its toes. So turn in. I do try to clip this curbing a little bit if I can, and clip it late so that I can kind of go straight across and clip the curbing on the left-hander. More often than not, I'll probably be on the white line more than the curb. And then through here, again, my intention is to cut this as much as possible so that I'm not bringing the car way far out. I think the normal line through here is you want to try and late apex it and don't really bring the car out more than half track, because you really want to get the car back to the left here and set for the next corner. This is the most of this sequence of corners. This is the most important because it leads on to a small straight that you might be able to set up a pass if the car in front of you has issues. Again, I don't have this one. I do by feel. I don't have a definitive, turn in or brake point like that. You really don't need to brake for this corner in second gear. It's just kind of a lift of the throttle that's enough to get enough weight forward on the front wheels to turn in. You don't have to come all the way out either. And again, do a late apex and you'll probably be able to start rolling back into the throttle just as you're getting to that late apex. Roll back to the throttle, up to third gear. You might feel the back end step out a little bit. Down to the next hairpin. So the braking for the next hairpin, again, starts where the curbing on the left side starts. So brake, 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 brake. Down to second gear. And again, I might start cheating a little bit and do a turn in as I get there. turn in as I get there. That's a smart thing to do. For this hairpin, again, the way this car is like at least how I'm driving it is once I get my braking done, I can, I'm trying to get the braking done so that I can release the brakes and carry as much speed as I can into the corner. Um, but I'm not trying to roll back into the throttle immediately. I'm kind of, you know, just letting the car do the work for me. But for this corner, if you notice, you've got, you've got three, as you're going through this hairpin, you're going to see three patches of extra green pavement on the inside. Um, so what I've been noticing for me is as I go through this corner, I pass the first one, get close here. This is about your apex green curbing. Keep it hugging in the inside, and as you're getting to the third one, you should be able to, as you pass it, this is about where you can really start trying to play with rolling back into the throttle. I'm not saying go back to full, but you'll probably start rolling back into the throttle and maybe be back to full throttle here. But again, the way the banking is for this corner, coming out of this corner, you may feel the back end step out a little bit. Just be mindful of that. But, even that, it's just a very brief, and it might just be a quick little flick of the wheel to straighten it out. Still second gear, bring the car back out to the right side. Again, this one I have game does not give us any reference points here. So unfortunately, this one you're going to do by feel. If you can see the braking line, really for me, it's the quick brush brake and turn in is right where the braking line kind of meets the edge of the track here on the right side. So it's a quick brake here, still second gear. Again, if I've done it right, I should be able to turn the car in, flip the inside curbing here a little bit, start to roll back into the throttle, back out second gear, up to third. Heading down the hill to Puhan. Gonna keep it to the right side. And I'm gonna use the camera position here, the camera guy here on the right side. As I get to his stand goes out of view. This is where I'm going to brake for Puhan. Where I am releasing the brake and turning in is right about where the inside curbing starts. When that edge of that curbing starts to go out of view, it's also just kind of that, depending of which side of the track it's easier for you to spot. If you can keep the edge of that curbing in your peripheral, that might be that's probably the one I'm using more often than not. It also kind of correlates almost to where the start of the green is as well. So I think, between those two spots, depending on which side you want to look, those would be good things to look for. I'm not sure. There's really nothing else. Sometimes in some other things I can use the course condition lights or like that, but I think here it's the curbings. So again, it's brake, brake at the camera position. About here is where I'm going to release. Still in third gear. Well, third gear when I do the flying lap. Let the car come into the apex. Let it move. Just let it come all the way out here. By the time you're about, because then this is a nice long double apex and corner. If you look at the track map as well, the entrance to Puhan, the first part is much sharper than the second. So if you get the braking right and you get through this corner, by the time you kind of get to the middle part of this double apex corner, you should be able to get back to full throttle. And because this isn't quite as sharp as the previous turn, using the camera boom just to kind of help guide you to the apex. Actually, the apex is much later. You should be able to be full throttle in third gear. Late apex, let the car come all the way out to the right side and down the straightaway into the next couple of left-right combos. You can upshift to fourth if you feel comfortable with it, or you can wind it out in third. Regardless, braking is going to be, again, looking at the curbing, is going to be right about where this curbing starts here on the left side. And for me, it is down to second gear. When I release the brakes, I'm going to turn it in. Again, camera boom can kind of help guide you in, but I'm looking for the apex where this green curbing is. So that's where I want to get the cars close to the curbing, maybe on it a little bit. I may even straddle a little bit on late exit. Again, bring the car about halfway. Same thing here. I'm actually going to late apex this one. Get on the curb a little bit. Still in second gear, let the car come out to the right side, get on the curbing there. Again, you can upshift to third if you want. If you leave it in second and you got a good run out of those corners, you'll be banging the rev limiter in second right as you get the start of this curbing here, which is, guess what? This is where you're braking at the start of the curbing. So it's a quick brake to get the car slowed down, second gear, roll it in, go ahead and abuse the curbing a little bit. And heading up to, I think this is Stavlo. So this one, let me stop the car because it's yelling at me because I'm on the curbing. So the setup for Stavlo, this is going to be one of those. Uh, Ideally, if you get the line right going in, and you get the shift right, you should be able to do it flat. And the hard part with this one, again, because the rear of the car plays, if you do it, what you may notice if you're off a little bit or you're a little too sudden with the turn in, what's going to happen is the car will turn in fine. It's just the weight transfer takes a little bit for the weight to transfer fully, and then the car, I guess the term is, it takes it set. When it kind of hits, and then I'm not saying it's hitting the bump stops or anything like that, but it definitely, there's a floaty moment, and then the weight will fully transfer, and it's on that left side fully. Depending on how much steering you put in, when that moment happens, depending on how much steering you have in and where you're at in the throttle, the back end will start to kick out. And so it'll probably be somewhere, it's not going to be right at turn in. It may be somewhere between, turn in, maybe by the apex of the corner. You're going to feel that back end want to step out. Again, two different ways to correct it. You might just be able to flick the wheel a little bit, open the steering up a little bit, and then recommit to take care of to kind of keep the back end in line. It might just be a little back out of the throttle, maybe a combination of both. But it's not one of those. In theory, it shouldn't spin you out or put you in a position where all of a sudden the car's going to hook back to the right side. It's the back end's going to step out. It's just a real quick correction to keep it in line. If you get it right, you probably shouldn't need to do that. But you will be flirting with the exit curbing on the left side. So setting up for it, I'm in second gear. So for me, now I'm running manual. I'm not running manual with clutch. So I think that's one of the things where I may have, I don't want to say a slight advantage, but when I'm going to actually, what I'm looking for when to turn in is I'm going to shift and turn in right as the curbing there on the right side starts to go out of view. And since I'm running just manual, I get that little benefit of kind of a quick lift on the throttle in third gear. And if I got the line right, I should be able to arc it in. I'm going to try and clip the curbing. If I'm going to get on this curbing here, it's going to be once I'm past the green patch of pavement on the inside. Still keeping very smooth steering. Car will make its way out to the left side here and may get on the curbing on the outside here a little bit. That's fine. But again, I tend to keep it neat and tidy if I can. So third gear, up to fourth, bring the car back over, just start to bring it back over to the right a little bit. And then we're heading to the approach for Blanchiment. And ultimately, I might keep it mostly on the right side just to make this so that the outside here doesn't sneak up on me. This one I'm still figuring out with the wheel. But the approach to the Blanchiment is, one, I don't think you can do it flat. That's my honest opinion. Because if it's one of these, the way this car is you might get the turn in right, but again, what I talked about in Stevlo with how once the weight transfers and it sets on the back of the car, if you've got any significant throttle or steering at that point, when that back sets, it's going to step out, and you're going to now be kind of making that corner more of an adventure than it needs to be. So what I was doing on the controller last night, and what I'll be playing with here is, if you notice, I'm just going to drive over to it really quick. So this white box, I don't know if it's an electrical box, concrete box, whatever. I just see white box. I'm using that as the reference point to get into, as far as when I'm getting off the throttle and when I'm turning in. It's still a little bit by feel, but that's usually kind of what I'm gauging to start. Again, I'll be out here to the right a little bit. I might, as I get comfortable, I'll be playing with this line as much as possible. Again, trying to open up the turn as much as I can. But what I'll be looking to do is, as that white box goes out of view, it's probably just going to be a quick lift of the throttle to turn in. And by doing that, again, it's by kind of getting out of the throttle, just that for that split second on turn in, it's going to take a little weight off the rears to let the car, so I'm not worrying about the torque or anything, getting the car to step out. It'll get the car to float in, it'll slow it down a little bit, and then I can roll back into the throttle. And I'm just trying not to do anything sudden to the rear of the car that's going to get it to step out. It may not always work, but again, it'll be a quick lift to turn in. And as soon as I start turning in, I'm going to see I'll start rolling back into the throttle. Hopefully, if I've done it right, I'll be back at full throttle as I get to the apex here. Hopefully with very, very little sliding, if any, out to the right side, still in fourth gear, heading up to the final chicane combo here. Again, there is no definitive, there's no markers here to go off of. So I usually tend to look at, the 150 board is there. That's easy to spot as you pass it. I wish there was something a little bit closer that I could gauge off of. So I am kind of relying mostly on the braking line to help me find, braking for the final corners. And even my memory is slipping. I think this is too late. I think it's a little bit before or after the curbing starts here on the left side. But down to first gear, I'm going to keep it wide if I'm on my own. Again, I'll turn in here. I tend to use a lot of that curb, as much of that curb as I can get away with, to try and keep the car to the right side at this point. Again, if I'm going to go into the pits, I can just go straight ahead and go into the pits. But then this kind of opens up the final turn. And usually I tend to be a little more neat and tidy on this one, roll back into the throttle, watch the wheel spin late as you're getting back to the throttle and onto the front straight. So that is Spa. This car's going to be very interesting. Again, the back of the car's got some play with it, play in it. But again, nothing that hopefully was it's not going to snap on you. It shouldn't snap on you, and you should, if you're paying attention to what the car is doing, it'll telegraph when it's going to start to step out. But with that, let's go ahead and get out of test drive, and let's get into the race. So on Matt's spreadsheet, when we did the initial kind of guesstimate as far as laps, I think he has 13 laps for Spa. I ran the mock race I'm about to run. I ran this exact one last night just to see how long it takes. I think 13 is too long, so I think it's going to be 12 laps, factoring in pit and I'm not starting quite as far back as I do on Thursdays, but I am switching around the starting grid as far as who I'm racing against, because finding the right AR, finding AI that races at least somewhat decently has been a little tough. But here's what I'm doing this week. So for Bucket One, starting up front at zero delay, I'm going to have the same class that the Falcon is in here for the historic road racing. They're going to be slow. We're going to catch them. Bucket 2, this is where we start. I was half tempted to do the tank pulls again, but I ran a few laps with them, and it's like it's not enough traffic for enough of the race. I want to have some consistent traffic if I can. So for Bucket 2, starting 20 seconds behind, is Nostalgic Drag Racers. Their PI is a little bit higher. This is going to be the classic. They're going to outrun me in a straight line, but I'll have the advantage in the corners. But their lap time should be close to what I can do. And then starting at the back that can definitely go faster than me, but I'm going to have them start 5 seconds in front of me, is the Bertha Grand Prix. So the old classic 50s or earlier Formula One cars. They are definitely quicker than me in a straight line, and in some places quicker than me in the corners. But if I get my rhythm right, it's like I'm not that far off their pace. So at that hopefully for me, then I'm better navigating traffic with my questionable racecraft. So oops, out of that. Setup is I accidentally started messing with the horsepower and I didn't want to do that. Let me just go ahead and reset that. There we go. Okay. And I'll be starting 60 seconds back. So at least the first couple of laps is going to feel like a hot lapping session. Go ahead and start race. All right, it's holding up fine so far. One thing I notice is the difference between this, the sound as far as the foam cushions compared to the wireless Xbox ones. My other headset cuts a lot more of ambient sound out, so it's been a little weird going back to the old headset. I wonder if the guy in front of me likes Legos. The gold bar. And what's that? Iron ice. All right. So I think for the first lap or two, I'm going to do a Rouge and Redallion, dropping it to third. And then I'm going to see if I can work up to fourth. Definitely, I think third on the opening lap anyway, just because the tires are cold. Even on cold tires, that first lap, the car front's going to push just that little bit. Again, I'm trying to, again, at least from my philosophy, it's like I'm trying to minimize the amount of steering that I'm doing. I'm trying not to do a lot of sawing at the wheel if I can help it, and really use the throttle to help balance the car, or to help rotate the car. It's all about minimizing the weight transfer to get the car around the track as quickly as possible. I probably could have gotten back to the throttle a little sooner there. I can step that a little bit. On time penalties here, the only turn that's forgiving is if you go wide in the middle of Puhan. Seems to be that's when you can kind of get away with that you can kind of get away with track limit violations, because I guess it figures you're only increasing, even though you're still probably full throttle, you're taking the really long way around that corner. You're not gaining anything. third one more time. Cool. But as close as I want to cut that. And 110. So a little bit of wheel spin back and got a little bit there. Uh-oh. My headsets, I don't know what the audio's like on the thing here. I'm getting these little very rhythmic pulses in the headset. It may be telling me that it's dying. Well, worst case scenario, if the headset cuts out during the mock race, I just pause it really quick, switch to the other headset, which should have a little more charge in it, and finish the race. Let's see if I can break this. A little shallow. Still working on that one. Nice traffic to play with. About the same. They're really, third or fourth up over Medallion, that'll be up to you. I mean, and again, for me on my own, I may try to do it in fourth, just that minimizes the amount of shifts that I have to make since I'm not running clutch. But certainly if I'm in traffic, I might need to go to third, depending on how close I am to a car in front of me. Oh, look at those three wheels up there. Alright, so I gotta time this. Should go early. A little too close, and then they're gonna start legging it out here on the straight. And then they're probably just gonna almost stop at Blanchemont. This will be interesting. Ooh. Probably came out of the throttle a little too much there, but we'll get that sorted. I race down to turn 1 that I'm going to lose. You know what? I gotta lose some space. Don't! Me. It's as bad as what Pride did to me at Silverstone last night. I gotta back off because I want to be much quicker up through here. Tried to, I wanted to try and go side by side up through there, and it just wasn't quite wide enough. Oh, he's the long side. Okay. Should be able to sweep around the outside on him here. The 3 wheels through the corners ahead of me. The Fairway? The other Falcon. And asking the nostalgic drag racers to do what they really weren't designed to do, and that was corner. A little lift to help. Whoa! Again, questionable racecraft. I think it was one of those. I was hoping to try and get the car turned. I wouldn't run into the Dodge Dart that I hit. Yeah. Weird, I think. Yeah, and I'm saying weird because I think brake feel. I think I'm actually stopping quicker with the pedals than I was doing with. Well, there we go. There we go. That's how you take that. No, but it's just turn 1. It just seemed to be that I'm not carrying as much speed in. I think I'm getting almost like I'm braking too much there. But I'm braking about the same place I was braking at with the controller. So it's kind of like, that's weird. Usually it's the opposite for me. It's like I can brake later on the controller than I can on the wheel. Excuse me. Remember me? I'm the one that ran into you. That is Stavro. I was trying to think of something snarky to say to the AI, but I'm not that into it. As I clearly demonstrated by running into the back of him in the last lap. So. A little bit wide. a little bit wide again, but you saw the back end just ever so slightly stepped out. That's a little bit better. That's what I wasn't doing before. So, and when we talk about weight transfer and doing things suddenly to the car, what I was doing in the previous laps is I was getting all the way out of the throttle, and that was putting enough weight forward and enough weight off the back on the turn in. That's when the car really was stepping out. So that last time, I just came partially out of the throttle. Again, so it's not so sudden of a change in the weight balance, and that seemed to keep the back end in check a little bit better through Blanchiment. And we're going to pit at the end of this lap. A little bit of a run. And again, I put it to first because, I'm trying to make an inside pass, and it just gives me that little extra, point control on the front of the car. Ooh, that was shallow. That was early. Not shallow. Well, surely that was shallow and early. Surely. Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me. A little early. And then, because I'm so far to the inside, let off the throttle that little bit to help it turn in and roll back in. Alright, so, all the way out of the throttle, just enough to get the car into the corner. Yeah, I can, the car's pushing a little bit now, so I can probably need to get out a little bit more on entry and then roll it back in, but that's part of practice. But we're now going to pit. So pit, you make this turn, you just go straight. When you get to the line, brake, turn in. Don't hit the red tire attenuator there. I almost did that last night. And it's always weird, and again, because this view blocks so much of, since you can't see anything going on in the track, I never really realized how, at least the pit lane here at Spa is higher than the track. And it's not something I really noticed until I was doing laps, and I was just kind of, coming down the front straight and seeing someone in the pit and like, wow, that pit lane's pretty high up there. But now that our pits are done, exiting pits is going to put you out, I think, in second gear, but put a little bit of steering in because you need to finish turning out of the corner. And then you're right on the line down for Rouge and Rebellion. Alright, so I've got some work to do. Granted, there's a lot of these cars, well, cars back here, they've already fitted. By the looks of it, I think the F1 cars have just about worked their way through traffic, so I may be settling for a 5th place finish here today. I'm slightly distracted by the three-wheeling going on in front of me. And they're probably going to go wide and through on. Downshift. Need to follow them out there. Please me, pardon me. That's better. So, it looks like my lift and turn in is a little bit past. Think of it as a timing thing. You'll pass the white box and it's maybe like a second past that. Oh no, I'm on the inside, come on. Or outside, technically. Oh, we're gonna go, nope, I got him. So we're gonna go side by side. Again, for Eau Rouge and Medallion, again, it is that brake and off the brakes to turn in, but it's not until I kind of hit the apex of that right-hander going up the hill when is when I'm really starting to roll back into the throttle, like when the car is almost straight. Ooh, gotta run. Excuse me, pardon me. Oh, yeah, I should be able to get at least one. Nope, he got a better run. Alright, that's fine. Can you guys make Wuhan? It shouldn't be on the outside. I make Wuhan. Turned in a little early, so I got to back out of the throttle slightly. Back off a little bit, because I don't know what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. I was looking for the crossover to see if I could get by him on the left. I was going to cut back across, but now he shifted again. So, hey, excuse me. Here I thought the battery died in the headset. It wasn't the battery dying in the headset, it was the controller shutting off. This is why I went to the wireless, so that wouldn't happen. Sorry for the interruption. Alright, so we're on lap 9, so 10, 11, 12. 3 laps. See if I can... Hopefully we can find at least one lap where I've got clear traffic. Maybe it might be lap 12. Let's see if I can get kind of, what I think is a representative lap of what I'll be able to do kind of when I'm on my own. Big run. That's what I was trying to do earlier. Kind of, keep the momentum but get out of the way. Kept the momentum, but I didn't get out of the way. Whoa, jeez. It's like my cats when it's like all of a sudden it's trying to go down the steps and they go down in front of you, and as soon as they get past you, they cut in front of you. This lap won't be clean. But it looks like, yeah. Oh, a little oversteery. I'm looking at the map. I'm just going to see yellow dots ahead of me. Oh, they're way up. Yeah, there they are. One green. Yeah, I'm paying attention to the map and not to what I'm actually doing. I'm going to take a stab in the dark that the green dot has yet to pit, but I think the F1 cars have already made their pits. See if we start making serious gains on Zolzo or 20. I don't have my glasses on, so it's like the gamer tag's a little bit blurry. It also might explain some of my racecraft issues. That could be better. Alright. Let's get reset here. A little bit of oversteer. And I mean, it's progressive. You can kind of catch it, but anytime that back is sliding, it's costing you time. Yep. I hope should be clear. The 5th here. Yep. Okay, so I've got 2 laps to try and set a decent one. I haven't set a clean lap the entire race. A little bit of weight transfer there at the back. I thought about as close as I want to cut that one. Didn't break enough. And I dirtied the lap. I probably lost the 3/10 I was up. Probably down by 2. Oh, wow, I'm still up. That means there's a heck of a lot of time there. Probably where I'm losing most of it. Just that smidgen of slide. Just enough. Enough to get you through the corner, but not so much that you're scrubbing speed. All right, let's see if we can get a heater in here. On the 10th, I know that I lost time in other parts, so let's do it. There we go. I think that's the best I've taken that turn all race. Early. Back out of it a little bit. Hopefully it didn't cost me that much. Flirting with that track limit. Like a 49.2. Can we get into 48s? Take it straight down here. .48.8. Not too bad for only 12 laps in the race here, maybe another 4 or 5. Controller, I was actually down, well, 240. Okay, that's good to know. So on the controller last night when I was doing the mock races, again, as I talk about the controller, you can kind of chuck the car a little bit more, which with this car is fun, but maybe not fast. Fastest lap in the mock race, testing I did last night was a 249.1 and 248.8. So yeah, definitely quicker on the wheel because I can be a little bit smoother with the steering. But that's Spa. Again, 36 minutes almost on the dot. Yeah, I think we're going to need to tell Matt that he's probably going to want to pull a lap off of his estimate. Because I think he had 13 laps. Probably needs to be 12. So with that, I'm going to call it a night. I've got a busy weekend ahead of me. WrestleMania is in town. And me and the fetching Mrs. Shaggy SoCal we'll be heading there for Saturday. And then I've got unfortunately, full day of rehearsals on Sunday. So I probably won't get to the Hockenheim, track guide until late Sunday evening, but I'll throw that one together. But I think this one I think is this one I think needs more practice than Hockenheim. That's my personal opinion. But other than that, you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you next week, definitely on Thursday. So where is that stupid live stream? There it is. So again, hope you guys have a great weekend. Happy racing, and see you Thursday.